tools and supplies, but you need a place to track your stuff, cause you're so disorganized. You click open the web page, you heard about a critical role, and now you're ready to kick some butt in a mine shaft full of no's. It's D&D, D&D Beyond, yeah, D&D, D&D Beyond. You got your stats, you got your swords, and you got your invisible wall. It's D&D, D&D Beyond.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Development Update and Community Q&A session. I'm Adam Bradford, the General Manager for D&D Beyond. Thank you for joining me, as always. This is the last dev update of the month, and typically what I like to try to do for the last one is to save as much time for questions as possible. So today is no different. We're going to get into the updates, and then I am going to try not to lose my voice while answering all of the questions that are coming in. If you have a question, by all means, type it in the chat using the question prefix, and our magic tool will pick that up, and I will grab that a little later. I'm also going to try to throw in some questions this week from the past several weeks where I have not even gotten close to answering all the questions that are coming in. So I'm going to try to catch up with some of those. But definitely have time for plenty of questions that come in today during the update as well. So today's lineup, latest updates. We're going to get into a pretty exciting data update, actually. Looking forward to this one about subclasses by class, but then we're sampling the data in a slightly different way per community request. So we'll talk about that when we get there. And then upcoming, and then ask me anything. So latest updates, the DDB Avray bot, say it with me, Avray, not Avrai or Avrai or any other variation, the DDB Avray bot. We are still in the middle of some technical debt cleanup. Got a question last time, which is a great question. And I think I've gotten into this before, but I'll explain it again for anyone who's new out there. Technical debt is a term that is used in any type of software development. And it really just means that as you are making things, sometimes you make a little bit of a mess. Sometimes you, have decisions that were made in year A that maybe aren't, the decisions that you would make in year B, or maybe technologies evolve over time. There are a variety of things that cause technical debt to exist, but technical debt is essentially this, waste and this weight that can kind of sometimes hinder forward progress for development. So the idea is you want to pay down that technical debt as much as possible, where you have freedom to do what you need to do going forward, kind of like, financial debt maybe. You can think about it that way as well. So that is something we take pretty seriously around here, and we're always looking for ways to minimize tech debt where we can continue to move forward in the most efficient way that we possibly can. So that's what I mean when I say tech debt. And that is something that we're kind of shoring up for Avray at this point in time, where we can really start moving forward and rocking and rolling there. So campaign updates, as I shared last time, this is an important distinction that we are going to be changing campaign content sharing to include player counts and not character counts. So this is going to be really, really important. It's going to be a lot easier to have either multiple characters inside a campaign, because I know a lot of people play that way. It's going to be easier for a dungeon master to pull in non-player characters into a campaign for easier tracking, and we're going to provide some better organization options for that as well. And then the character service. So we are working on a character service for those of you who are technically inclined out there. You might start getting excited in some ways, and it's building block to eventually getting a public API for some of that information. But this really is a pretty serious issue for us that we're having to uh, address, and we have been addressing over the last several months, where we have seen growth on D&D Beyond. That this is a great problem to have, that is beyond our wildest dreams. And so we've got so much growth going on that we're currently on a hardware tier, that essentially we have one more tier that we could go up without things starting to basically degrade, or the technical term that we use all the time is blow up. So we've had to take that very, very seriously. And so we're having to re-engineer some things to make sure that this unforeseen growth does not impede the experience for the community out there. So moving to this distributed architecture and getting a character service like this going is part of that overall effort. And it is early stages for something that I could see us eventually releasing as a public API. Content management is in progress. Encounter Builder Alpha is in progress. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. And then the mobile beta character sheet is also in progress. So I think we have some, so we have some screens here of that. So just kind of letting you guys know some of the subtle changes that are going to be coming as the character sheet starts to hit the mobile app in the beta, but we will also start reflecting those changes on the website itself. Some of the feedback we've gotten, as well as just industry standards out there, are that, you need roughly, it's somewhere, 40 pixels, 44 pixels, somewhere around there is the space that you need for a finger to effectively tap or touch something on a mobile phone screen. And so everything that you're seeing on the to right, let me do it your way, to right, or wait, am I backwards? I don't even know. Is this a mirror? Is this real life, or is this just fantasy? Ultimately, on the left is, you will see what is currently in a mobile web browser, but then on the right on the screen that you got here, you're going to see that we've got a dark mode. I know people get really excited about that. So we got a dark mode, but then we also have a sample of the non-dark mode, where we are just simply kind of tweaking and fine-tuning some of the things that are going to make just the screen real estate live better on a mobile device. And so that's really what we're looking for here. So ultimately, that's going to be coming as we start to get out into the mobile beta. This is something that we are going to alpha ahead of even getting it into the beta for the public. So keep your eyes open and your ears open. I guess your ears are mostly always open, actually. But anyway, we will be announcing and sharing and shouting from the rooftops when subscribers are going to be able to go and download the first versions of this character sheet that is going to be available in the app. And so we'll let you guys know how that's going when the time comes. So actually, let's go to the Encounter Builder update. We're just going to go to the actual website and look at this thing for our update here. We've got an Encounter Builder. I don't know if you guys have heard of this, but if you're a subscriber, you can go in and start using it right now, and you can help us with all of your feedback to where we can make exactly what is needed. So here is the Encounter Builder. I can drag and drop my monsters over here. This is already a bad day for these low-level characters. So, I can change whatever I need to of this. We're going to say that they are some high-tier characters here. So ultimately we still are kind of, struggling with that dragon. So let's pull back and let's just do some wormlings here. Got some wormlings going on. We'll just keep increasing the number of wormlings. So there's my encounter. And so saving that encounter, details page, all of this is here. I can also see my encounters. And at this point in time this week, we have added in the sorting that's going to be possible here on the My Encounters portion of this. And again, we are working on homebrew integration. I think that that's getting pretty close. And we're working on all of the other feedback and eventually getting to a point where we are comfortable to leave the alpha and turn this on in beta for the public, and then kind of follow that up with what we're talking about in the section where I talk about what's upcoming, which is an encounter tracker. And that's the piece that I am very excited about myself. So we'll get there as soon as we're able to. So a data update today. We've got some really interesting data. I was a little bit surprised by part of this data, but I'm going to go ahead and go here. Before I do, though, I want to explain a little bit about what you're looking at, because as soon as I go to this next screen, we're going to get a lot of chatter automatically if I don't preface this, curious about how we sampled this and all this. So I'm just going to tell you flat out what's going on here. So we've gotten a lot of feedback that some of this data, which again, it's going to be very difficult to parse any of this in an incredibly effective way based on the fact that the basic rules are basic for a reason, for instance, but then also so many of these options have existed prior to some of the other options being available. So we are trying our best today to make this as apples to apples as we possibly can. And this is the best way we know how to do this. So this is about to show you the subclass distribution, the popularity distribution of subclasses within each class, but this is only sampling D&D Beyond users who have purchased sources. That means that they have all of the player options for said subclasses unlocked. In other words, this is not using free users who do not have the player's handbook, who do not have Xanathar's Guide to Everything, who do not have Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, and so on. So this is using a sample of our I think it's over 13 million characters now. A sample of that, it's still millions. But ultimately that sample size is only using sources that are, actually things that have player subclass options in them. And then next week we'll probably look at races, but today we're looking at subclasses. So hopefully this is going to be more apples to apples, and you will see that the data shifts in some interesting ways when people have availability for all of the options. So here we go. So subclasses by class, all player options unlocked. You see that, again, not a lot of surprises with Barbarian, as far as I'm concerned anyway, not a lot of surprises there. Bard does not surprise me really at all. Some of the things that do surprise me, so life domain, we get this one all the time about the cleric domains, that if we got rid of all the free users or all the basic rule only users, that there's no way life domain would be as popular as it is. It's pretty popular, folks. Like, it's just really, really strong, and there's a reason that it's archetypal. Archetypes exist for a reason, and so I think you can still continue to see this across, the Bard with the College of Lore, the life domain on the cleric. Druid Circle of the Moon is pretty strong here, and so the thing that is really interesting to me, though, is the percentage that is beside the class name is their actual distribution amongst this sample. So what you are seeing, this is not in order. We tried to just alphabetize because there were a lot of different things going on here. But ultimately, you are seeing at 13% that there are more warlocks than any other class when we sample users who have all player options unlocked. So this is not following the typical trend of fighter being the top that it typically always is. Essentially what we see, at least with D&D Beyond data, is that there are more warlocks than any other class if all player options are unlocked. So that is, that's a very interesting tidbit. To me, cleric is very high as well there. And then you see that, let's see, sorcerer is actually far more represented and distributed than it typically is if you were just looking at all the data in places where people do not have the other player options unlocked. So sorcerer being at 10% is even over the rogue in this case, which is actually pretty surprising. I think that there are a variety of factors that could be at work here. And my hypothesis is the sorcerer and warlock options that are presented in Xanathar's Guide to Everything are very, very popular, and they have kind of changed the dynamic there of what's happening. But with a sample of all player options unlocked from all of our users and all the characters, this is the distribution that we end up seeing. You see the Hexblade continues to be strong. So if we were looking at this just by subclass, forgetting about the class grouping, Hexblade is definitely going to be at the top by a fairly healthy margin. And so it's just a very, very popular subclass. Lots and lots of gishy people out there. Gishy. All right. So hopefully this has been an interesting look at, again, a sampling that we typically don't do, but I think it is interesting to look at and something that we'll continue to look at in the future weeks. Like I said, next week we'll probably look at the races. So if you have any questions about this data, I might be able to answer it. So feel free to ping that in chat, and we'll get to it when we get to questions here shortly. Let's give away a legendary bundle. Does that sound like a good idea to anyone? I think it's a pretty good idea. I bet chat is going to let me know that it is a great idea in a moment, because to qualify for winning this legendary bundle, you need to type in chat. Doesn't really matter what you type out there. We just need to know that you're a human being and not a robot. And so as long as you are not artificially created and potentially going to take over the world one day, then you qualify. And I think I've probably talked long enough at this point for the delay to kick in and everyone to have a chance to potentially finger whack something into the chat there. So we're going to give this away in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Jace's Sanctum. Jace's _ Sanctum. Congratulations. You have won a legendary bundle. Someone will contact you hopefully pretty shortly to award that to you. So congratulations, you won the legendary bundle. All right, upcoming Encounter Tracker Phase 1, track hit points and statuses, initiative order. This is one of the major milestones that we've been working towards since the beginning of D&D Beyond. This is an exciting time that we're not quite there yet, but we are getting closer and closer. So this is going to be an incredibly helpful tool. I can't wait to see how much easier this is going to make the initiative process. It never ceases to amaze me. I've played for, I guess, 25 years or so now, and initiative is always a struggle in game. Like I've tried so many different methods. I've tried letting players track it. And, when I have played with a group for a long time, I eventually, over that time, get to where initiative's a piece of cake with that group, because we've all trained each other on how it needs to work. But this hopefully is going to make initiative much, much easier. Looking forward to including that as part of the Encounter Tracker. General feature system I've talked about a little bit. As the game continues to expand horizontally, we need to be able to provide ways to allow you to track guilds, franchises, factions, and so on. Adventures League integration. We are excited about this, and this is something that we hope that we can get into fairly soon. And then I've shared that, dice rolling, we're starting to look at how we can get this in place. And it's not really enough for us. We probably could have implemented a way to just spit out a number a long time ago. There are a lot of ways that you can do that online already. We intend to do something pretty fun and pretty special with dice rolling. So that's what we're starting to look at, kind of as a Slack project. So for those of you that might not know what that is, Google really popularized this over the last decade or two. I don't know. I'm getting pretty old. It may have been that long. Where they spend about 20% of their time during a work week innovating and trying new things. And that's something that we strongly believe in here as well. And so Fridays are kind of our Slack day for most of the teams, and they get to do some of their pet projects or things that they are just really interested in or passionate about. The initial offering of our Discord bot kind of followed that track. So ultimately, this is a place for exploration, and dice rolling are a part of that at this point in time. And we'll see how that progresses. All right, time for questions. Time for questions. So we've got like 40 minutes left for questions. So here we go. I might have to stop occasionally and drink something. It's just water. Got to be careful when you say drink something. All right, let's see. Is that working? Yeah, Ancient Red Dragon. Will the D&D Beyond Twitch extension ever integrate with Streamlabs? I don't think that's highly likely at this point in time. Any kind of direct integration. I guess I would probably need to know a little bit more about Streamlabs itself to understand, how that works. I think it's like an OBS, comparable bit of software. If I'm wrong on that, it just shows that I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to all this streaming technology. But either way, our Twitch extension is working directly with Twitch's APIs, and so it's probably not going to go through that intermediary there. Dagobah 46, any follow-up from the D&D Beyond Discord tweet conversation? Unfortunately, no. Like, they came out and instead dropped some kind of program that I think you got to, pay for or something. Very, very foul ball move, Discord. So we'll see where we can get a little further into the future here. Blay, will there ever be a system for toggling buff and class features such as Rage, Mage Armor, and Haste? Yes, there will be at some point in the future. We've called that as a placeholder a temporary effects system for some time. It is on the public roadmap, dndbeyond.com/feature-roadmap. You can see that temporary effects system there. It is something that we will get to when we are able to do so. Stone Fox SPQR Speckers. I don't know. Are there any previews of exclusive themes and backgrounds for pre-orders? So no, we aren't able to preview those extremely effectively at this point. We hope that we can do better with that in the future. The fact of the matter is those frames and backdrops and everything else are created from the art assets for the actual book and product. And so for Acquisitions Incorporated, there is an image of a wax seal in there, and we took that and we made it into a portrait frame. And so that being the case, we could not have really previewed that until we got the book, and we get the book fairly late in the process comparatively. So we are going to try to at least be able to show those off, maybe a week or two in advance in the future if we're able to. But it is something that is a little bit of a challenge for us, and not something that we can do as soon as a pre-order becomes available. The thing that I hope everyone is coming to understand is that we do have some fun and interesting cosmetic type customizations that can go into place for portrait frames and backdrops and theme colors and so on. And so when you pre-order, hopefully you can trust at this point that we're going to deliver some interesting takes on those things based on the product itself. And in the future, I imagine there will be some ways to secure those frames and backdrops and so on without pre-ordering, but there will be a pre-order exclusivity period, and we'll include some more of those elements over time that you can secure in some other fashions. Scamanator. Suppose you, Adam, that's me, are presented with the deck of many things and draw the balance card, inverting your alignment. How would this affect your work on DDB? What changes might we see as users? This is an excellent question that if my alignment was inverted, I would not be able to answer truthfully anyway. And so we're going to have to leave it mysterious. 19 Gaming. Currently, backgrounds once selected in Character Builder do not have the full description, specifically missing tables. Any chance that will be remedied? If we're missing tables from backgrounds, that's probably an error, and we probably need to get that addressed. So we'll see what we can do with that. It might be that I think there are some times where we don't show the tables directly in a description, but they are available immediately below it in another section. So that might be what's going on, but otherwise we'll have our content management team take a look at that. Let's see. Looks like I've answered those questions very recently. So let's, Brian, do you like Swedish meatballs? Yes. It's an easy one. FDM no more. Would D&D Beyond ever consider partnering with the Retroverse to bring it onto the site? I'm unaware of what the Retroverse is. Is that bad? That I don't know what that is? Let's see. Lasers and liches, is that what we're talking about? If that's it, yeah, I don't know enough about this. So either way, it looks like it's probably a third-party thing that we are not able to do at this point in time. Sylvan Hawk, is there a way to give characters more attunement slots? There is now. So ultimately, you can go in and as either a part of a class feature with some kind of homebrewing, or I believe it's available in magic items. I guess I'd have to see that. But we do have a modifier out there now that you can adjust the number of attunement slots up to a maximum of, I believe, 6, which is what that would be for the Artificer. Adventure with Advantage, good idea. Virtual tabletop. Yes and no. We don't call it a virtual tabletop. We think that it's going to be kind of the next generation of that. And I assume by just simply saying the term right there, you're wanting me to share more information about it. And I don't have a lot of additional information at this point in time. And I definitely don't have a date, or a time frame, which I am sure is what you're kind of getting at with the heart of your question there. D&D Licult 95. Will the compendium navigation revamp see changes in the sidebar, more links? How about a floating mobile sidebar? These are all things that we're looking at. We know that we need to do some pretty major improvement for the way that you navigate in the compendium on the website and on mobile. And so we're going to continue to look at ways to improve that over time. Let's see. Let's go to some of the questions from today now, because we're about, yeah, that's about 10 minutes is what I wanted to spend there. So, Saute Monkey 77, is content sharing for Dragon of Icespire Peak disabled until it is fully released? Yes, it should be. So ultimately, again, with the exclusivity to target stores at this point in time for the D&D Essentials kit, we are having to, per Wizards of the Coast request, having to make sure that that is not accessible to anyone that is not purchasing that box set directly. All of that will change come September 3rd when it is available everywhere. Dillagaffern, how many times are you going to see Far From Home? I'm not sure yet. I will definitely be going back to see Endgame with the re-release this weekend. Beat Avatar, yeah. Oh, sorry. But yeah, so definitely going back to see it at least once this weekend. So that'll be 10, 11, 12. I don't know how many times I'll end up seeing that in total. But then Far From Home, I know that I have 3 tickets within the first day. So we'll see where we go from 3. Jake's the Bard, Jaxa the Bard. Any update on DDB coming to a Canadian convention? I really hope to meet you guys. I'd love to meet you too. And I am hopeful that we can make it to Toronto to that convention, because that actually looks like there's a lot of people that go to that. So we are starting to kick the tires about that for potentially next year. So more to come as soon as I have other updates on that front. Obo Crazy, I know you. With the holidays next week, we need to know, what is your favorite topping for a hot dog? I don't eat hot dogs, so my favorite topping is nothing. I have a fairly major aversion to hot dogs. So you're not going to see a hot dog in my hand, or especially not in my mouth. So none of the above is the answer here. Nuafandi, do you foresee additional content being released like the D&D Essentials Kit, where store purchase content will have electronic codes for use on D&D Beyond? I certainly hope so. This is something that the D&D Essentials Kit is a major victory. Like, I did a dance and everything, when it actually happened, because I've been really working and pushing on trying to get a digital code into physical products for a long time. It's definitely a marathon, but that is a great first step, and I hope that we see more of that in the future. And we are trying to work with Wizards of the Coast to see how that can happen. And I can tell you that if you buy said box and redeem said code, that is going to actually allow your voice to be heard, at least in some way, as to how popular an option like that could be. So by all means, buy the boxes, redeem the codes. Ladred, could you discuss with Larian to connect DDB with Baldur's Gate 3 using our DDB character in game and the contrary? What a good idea. What a great idea. I don't know. We'll see. Grand Pyromania. Was D&D Beyond's name inspired by Buzz Lightyear's To Infinity and Beyond, Kappa? Oh, I don't think I was supposed to say that Kappa out loud. So not directly, but what a wonderful random happenstance. Gadget Zor, VTT with full DDB character and campaign integration. Everyone's just asking this question, like with the term itself in question mark. I addressed that one a little earlier. No additional news to share, but we are doing something really special with that. Ledred, any news on the translations in foreign languages? We have some of the files now, and we are running it through our systems to ascertain the feasibility of being able to support it on the platform. Things are looking good. All signs point to yes. Don't exactly have a time frame yet, but it is something that we are working on, and I hope we have more to share before too much longer. Yawning, is D&D Beyond coming to Gamehole Con? Wouldn't miss it. I didn't see you on the schedule, and I need to get some of those stickers. Yeah, I don't know. We probably should be on the schedule by now, because we are hosting all of the live streaming that's going to be happening at Gamehole Con. So we're going to be set up with a packed full schedule of all kinds of interesting people playing D&D. So we're looking forward to that, but we will absolutely be there. Since it's live streamed events, maybe it's in a different section of the schedule, or maybe it's not quite posted yet, but it is something that we will certainly be there and look forward to seeing folks up in Madison. Kypex TV, are there two separate versions of content for the mobile app and web? I've noticed mobile Android's missing some things that are visible on the web. So the answer to this is a little complicated. No, there aren't two separate. It's not two separate content blocks, but the mobile needs an update. So if anything's ever updated on the website, something has to happen on mobile for that content to be propagated. And mostly that is because of the nature of being able to have that content offline. There are updates that are needed. So I guess at the barest basis level, like, yes, it is two separate versions. I just don't want folks to get confused into thinking that that is that's a design intent. It is simply a fact of life that we have to deal with offline content in the mobile app. But typically, we try to batch several of those changes at once because we don't want to just completely hammer people with update notifications. And again, we're still trying to really learn the ropes here in beta to try to figure out what the best ways of doing that are and what the proper cadence is. But yes, if you see something on the website that's not on the not in the mobile app yet, it should be, hopefully, fairly soon, because there is an update that has to be triggered there. Andreev's 88, if I see bugs or weird behavior in the encounter builder, should I report it somewhere or should I wait for it to leave alpha? No, the point of the alpha is for you to report those things. So we certainly would appreciate you doing that. And there are multiple ways to do that. You can share any of that feedback on our forums. There's a feedback button right on the bottom right of your screen that you can click and even show us where the bugs are happening. So we certainly encourage you to tell us right away if you see something that is not working properly. Benet UK, is the character sheet going to be a separate mobile app or part of the main DDB app? The intent, at least at this point, is that it will be part of the main DDB app and it will all be integrated. We realize that at some point, with all the things that we're going to be doing over time, there might be a need to split those out based on their different purposes at some point. But at least as it stands, right now, the plan is for it to all be together. Espoo JM. What frameworks and technologies do you use for your back end? That would be, I could do a joke right there, but I'm going to pass on it. So frameworks and technologies, it's .NET, and that's about the extent of my knowledge about it. But yes, .NET, I've heard them say words like DynamoDB. I've heard them say words like, no, that's about it. But yeah, it's .NET stuff, and we have some Python stuff that we've started to get as well. I am not an engineer, if you haven't noticed. But yeah, that is what we use here in the shop. However, with the distributed architecture that we are moving towards, the specific languages are not quite as important because of the way that the services talk with each other. At least that's what they've explained to me. Grease tapes. Any plans to make the player count level global across all encounters? Plan to make the player count / level global across. I need a little more info. I'm not exactly sure what you're getting at. I'm missing something there. I apologize. I'll try to see if there's a follow-up from Grease Tapes as we go along here. DJ PGPFFJ, are there any plans to have a spot to hold currency of gemstones, like 100 gold pieces worth of diamonds to use for a spell or as a trade value? That is something I'm sure we will get into as we get into some of the inventory management changes that we have on the roadmap. Got table. Could you add an index of maps to adventures so we can easily find them, either for reference or to print out? I think that's a great idea. It's something that is also on our list. So Not sure when. It's something we would like to do. AVAC, will the encounter builder have pre-built encounters for published adventures? Absolutely. That is a huge part of the plan. You will be able to purchase an adventure and have all those encounters pre-built for you, and then you'll be able to pull those in seamlessly to Encounter Tracker to play those. That's definitely a big part of the plan. Jay Fabre, do you plan to add some kind of DM view of the party, i.e., have all AC saves, etc.? So in the Encounter Tracker, that will have some version of cards similar to the adventure or the initiative cards that I've seen popping up out in the community, where you will see kind of the most pertinent statistics for your player characters and monsters all at a glance. You'll be able to click into those to dive deeper into the statistics that you're clicking. So yes, all of that is part of the plan. Benet UK, the people you've sampled, do they include the people who are in campaigns that have shared the rest of the data? Yes, it's anyone who has access to the source. So that's a good question. So anyone who has access to the source, that is who is going to be included in that sampling. Devere P, can the site show from what book the subclasses and backgrounds are from? When I look by class, I can't tell. Trying to make sure I know how you mean that. So ultimately, we're saying that, let's see, classes. Let's look at my buddy, the Barbarian. So, yeah, that is. I thought we were doing that. That's a good call out. Yeah, we absolutely need to add that source in there, and I think that's something that we can do. So we'll add that to our list. Thank you, Judge Ender. How does this hold up when you only include those above level 2 or 3? There are likely a lot of warlocks that are only 2-level dips. That's an excellent follow-up that we could potentially do at some point in the future. Vox Culina, will there ever be a tutorial series that covers creating homebrew content? It'd be nice to have a guide for each piece of content, like subclasses or feats, that helps explain it in better detail, each of the fields and how best to complete them. That is a superb idea, and it is certainly something that we will do at a point where we feel like homebrew, the homebrew creation process is where we actually want it to be. I've made it no secret that I am personally not happy. The team's not happy with where homebrew currently is. It is too cumbersome. It is not user friendly enough. It is something that we have on deck to do something about and make that much, much easier for a user to understand what's going on and to be able to create things quicker and easier. And so when we reach that milestone, we do plan to have a pretty extensive video series that is going to help people walk through the different elements of that. Saber Runner, how does this data update reflect multi-class? Yeah, I kind of addressed that one already. That's a good follow-up that we can get into. Jace's Sanctum, will hit point tracking come to the encounter builder soon? I don't know what your definition of soon is, but based on my definition, I think that it's relatively soon. Lord Ravenloft, what would happen if the winner of the legendary bundle already has it? I.e., the person wrote a question, was picked as the winner, but didn't intend to participate. Then we do this amazing thing where you get to be a really, really good friend to someone out there and gift it to a buddy. The True Dalek, will dice rolling be group-based where everyone in the group can see the rolls? That is certainly the intent. FDRM Frank, this might be a grim question. No, should I preview this one? Okay. I'm happy to answer it. I just want to make sure, when you said grim, I wanted to make sure it wasn't like, non-PG-13. But this might be a grim question. I don't have any of the hard copies of any of the books of D&D Beyond. I only have the digital content with y'all, and I love it. In a fringe case, the site goes down for good or something bad happens. Do y'all have a plan for anyone who has bought any content to be able to retain their purchases beyond D&D Beyond. I just want to know y'all have a fallback plan. English is my second language. Doing great with the English. You're even throwing in some y'alls there. So I'm very familiar coming from the South with the Southern drawl and just rolls off your tongue like molasses. Ultimately we have a license agreement with Wizards of the Coast, which allows us to host up to a certain amount of time once agreement thresholds are not met. And so ultimately, I'm not going to get into all the details there, but I can tell you that living in a digital age, we are beholden to digital distribution methods. And so in the case of Netflix, it is a little bit irritating to me every now and then that they pull a movie that I was just about to watch. Especially they tend to do that. It's like I was going to watch Spider-Man Homecoming and it's not on Netflix anymore. Right here around this next movie. But ultimately, we are going to do the best that we can in the environment that we are in. And so I know that is a lot of ambiguity with what I'm saying. I'm just saying that community first is one of the core tenets that we have. Is the very first thing that we talk about when we talk about anything that we're trying to do. Because we genuinely believe that if we do right by the community, all the money and all the things that we need to keep operating as a business are going to take care of themselves. And so we're going to, when that time eventually comes, I think that we all think that that's going to be a long time from now. This edition of the game is doing really, really well. But ultimately, whenever that time comes, we will do everything we can to be as community minded as possible. That's the only thing that I can say to you at this point in time. Anything else would be just wild speculation or some kind of falsehood, and I'm not going to do that. Olorindil, will the D&D Beyond initiative combat encounter tracker leverage or use the same code and logic that Avre bot uses, or will users be able to follow an encounter both on the web and app and in Discord? Wouldn't that be so cool? We'll see. Aggie Bear, any update on Adventures League character tracking? The update is it is in the upcoming bucket and is not something that we've been able to tackle yet, but it's kind of on the next list. Mighty Samson with a 0. I know no exacts, but hopes an encounter tracking by the end of July. Yeah, that seems like a stretch to me. So yeah, I don't give exacts, but end of July, I mean, that's like a month away. So yeah, that's probably not happening. Dragar here, will there be a way to export characters from D&D Beyond in XML format? Very unlikely. Whatever API we supply in the future, again, I'm not the engineer here, but I doubt very seriously that it would be an XML. It would be some other type of service. Let's see. Grease tapes. I told you I'd look out for you, and I'm rereading this, and I'm not sure if I'm picking up on it still, but I'm going to take a little bit of a guess, and hopefully this is what you mean. Any plans to make the encounter builder change character count and levels globally across all encounters? So again, I don't know if this is what you mean, but this is something that I can share that we intend to do. This is going to be really hard. I'm going to go on and tell you, it's going to be really, really challenging for us to figure out, but it is absolutely a target for us to do because this is just really cool. So once the monster builder gets into place, which that is the major follow-up to the encounter builder and the encounter tracker, the monster builder is going to allow you to slide a scale on challenge rating and let the math change inside the monster where it will be appropriate for that challenge, and vice versa. If you add things to the monster, even magic items, and equip them to the monster, if that changes the challenge, it would update that challenge rating. And so ultimately, when we get to that point, Then we want to take that and do that on a grander scale across an encounter. So the idea is you would be able to essentially tweak any encounter in any of the published adventures. So essentially, you could take the recently, box set release of Dragon of Icespire Peak that's intended for 1st to 6th level characters. Theoretically, again, this is the target. You could adjust those encounters globally to where you could make at least the combat encounters, within that adventure fit for characters of 7th through 12th level, if that's what you wanted to do. So that's definitely something that we intend to do. I think it's really cool. And so we're going to fight to see how we can make that come to pass. That would give so much flexibility and extend the playability of these existing adventures in such a dramatically big way. People could play Lost Mine of Phandelver and then follow it up with Dragon of Icespire Peak at the different level ranges. That is the goal, and that's where we're trying to get to. Paradox 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. Is there a way I'm missing, or would it be easy to add a filter in the monster listings to filter out named NPCs? As more and more adventures, I like that actually quite a bit. So the way that I would, let's think about that one. That's a really good idea. It's very rare when someone brings something up that I haven't at least thought about before, but I haven't thought of that one and I like it. So let's see what we can potentially do. Likely something through our tagging system. Gaius Octavian Alere, would we be able to homebrew temporary effects? I think so. By the time we get there, we would want that to be the case. Aggie Bear, how can we get y'all to come to cons in Dallas, Texas? Dallas, Texas is the worst place on the planet. No, I'm sorry. We can't judge the entire city based on just the airport. But I sent a few emails, but never heard anything back. We would love to figure out what that convention might be. So I think we're going to be at PAX South. I realize that is San Antonio and not Dallas, but I'm not sure how far of a drive that is. But I'm sorry if you haven't heard anything back. Hit me up on Twitter if there's something cool going on in Dallas that maybe we don't know about. We'll see what we can do. 13 Baker 11, is Avre going to be able to interact with DDB characters? For example, use spell slots and mark that on the DDB character sheet. Yes, at least at some point it will. Circle God. Will D&D Beyond ever come out with its own chat voice client? Oh, heavens, no. I'm sorry. There's a lot of history there. So Curse, which is, our heritage here, spent a long time developing a chat and voice client in the company's past. And it's not something that we are eager to try to take on at any point in the future. We're big believers in trying not to reinvent the wheel when we have the opportunity not to do so. So I think with Discord and all the other options out there in today's world, it would be very difficult for us not to simply leverage one of those. Agnes.Davidson, will homebrew character races be able to be used in the character creator? They are. So there might be some confusion going on there. Hopefully somebody in chat has already been able to help you. Mod Run, can we please be able to buy character frames outside of having to pre-order something? You want the Xanathar's frame is what it looks like here. So yeah, we are working on ways to make that a possibility. Nothing more to share yet, but I do hope we have something to share in the near future. Uber Maggot, any plans on adding multiple tabs, page search, URL sharing, and page section links or drop downs to the app? Sure, URL. A lot of stuff there. Page section links or drop downs to the app. Yeah, we'll start to see more and more of those things over time. Maybe not all of them, but more of them. Adventure Fight, have you seen Tailspire? If so, have there been any discussions about DDB integration? I have definitely seen it. I think what they're doing is really, really neat. There have not been any discussions, no. Kenlanders, Conlander. I don't know. Will we ever have the option to in character creation to select a trinket from the list in the PHB? I think that is on the list as well, and I'm sure we'll see it at some point. Alt F4 will help. How soon, if at all, would we be able to add our own or have a curated user submitted selection of custom character backgrounds and frames? I don't know. That sounds like a great subscriber benefit. We'll see. I play dead people. Have you ever used a Lada for Iota, maybe? For ablutions? If not, would you consider? Whoa, now. Whoa. I got to admit, I have a pretty big vocabulary. I want to make sure. The act of washing oneself is an ablution. So a ceremonial act of washing parts of the body or sacred containers. So ablution. All right. I don't know if I understand the context of the question as far as it goes with D&D Beyond anyway. I don't know what Lata or Iota. This is a bad font for L's and I's. So maybe if you have some clarification on that question, but thank you for teaching me a new word here today. Murgon, what can you tell us about how sidekicks are being implemented for Ice Spire Peak? So they are extras that you can add to your character sheet via stat block form, which is how they are manifested in the D&D Essentials kit. Circle God, when can we log into the D&D Beyond Discord bot? So the D&D Beyond Discord bot has morphed into the DDB Avre bot. So you can already install the Avre bot now, today. Hopefully some moderators can spam how to do that. Dave Damon, would uploading custom backgrounds to the character sheet be a possibility? As I said, sounds like a great subscriber benefit. Benet UK, if you're working on your own VTT or whatever you call it, does this rule out partnering with other official partners with VTT such as Fantasy Grounds? To be honest, I don't know what it means for any of that at this point in time. Mod Run, why is the attunement slot limited to 6? Why can't you just let us have things like that unlimited? Some homebrew stuff needs way more than 6. I would love to know what kind of game you are running. Wow, more than 6. That's amazing. So I genuinely am not trying to make fun there, but wow, more than 6. So the reason that we are limited to 6 is a fairly practical one, in that if we don't limit it in some way, it has a high probability of breaking the UI in the places where attunement shows up. So we have to do something, and we've decided to do that at the highest threshold that any of the official content uses attunement slots. Yeah, I do apologize if that's an inconvenience, but that is definitely an edge case for us that we're not going to be able to do much about at this point in time anyway. Lepidoptera lady. If I bought the legendary bundle, subscribed at master level, and bought my table 6 Amazon Fire tablets, would I still be expected to furnish minis if I build myself as a professional DM? Wow, that's an interesting question that I'm not sure I'm incredibly qualified to answer, because I've never professionally dungeon mastered. So maybe somebody in chat has done that before. I feel like that would be enough, but I'm probably pretty lenient on such things. All right, so let's see a couple more. So Crimson Blues Clues, Buffalo Wings, are you more a drumettes, flats, or wingtips fan? I like all of the above. I genuinely have no preference. I am a good buffalo sauce and crispy fan. That's what I'll say there. Let's see. Gone Ronin. For those who have ordered the next Beal and Grimm Platinum Edition, which includes the book for D&D Beyond, will we also get the pre-order content? We'll have to look into that, but I think that's probably a good idea. So let's see about making that happen. Let's see. Gadget Zor, what is your background study? I'm assuming that that means what my education. I have a degree in religion and philosophy, as well as sociology. So that is actually what my degree is in, and I actually have quite an education in role-playing games and superheroes. So I'll add that as some kind of professional, credentials there. Let's see. All right, I think we're about out of time. I'm going to grab one more though. Benet UK, is it possible to have a choice for the mobile content to be online instead of offline? At this point in time, that's not an option that we are allowing. It creates a lot of additional complexity that we're not prepared to take on, and probably would slow things down to a state that we wouldn't want them to. And so ultimately, that is not something that's in the cards for now. All right, out of time. I did about 40 minutes there. I did not lose my voice. I call that a win for today. I hope all of you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will not be here next week because of the US holiday. I will be somewhere, I'm sure, watching a Spider-Man film for the 8th time or whatever that's going to be. But again, we'll see you the week after that. Hope everybody has a good one later, Gators.